For somebody who keeps telling us how secure he is with Kayda, Zach spent this entire episode looking sick, okay? The second Caleb showed even a little bit of interest in Kayda, this man started spiraling. Now, y'all, at some point, somebody needs to pull Bryce and Zach aside, okay? And ask them if they want to couple up because these two spend more time worrying about each other than their actual couples. Let's get into it because I have thoughts.
Kay Unscripted, no teeth restricted. In this journey, watch our stories unfold.
Hey y'all, welcome back to the channel. This is Kay Unscripted. I'm your girl Kay and today we're breaking down Love Island USA Season 8 Episode 15. Now where the hell have I been? Oh my goodness y'all, we had no internet service. It was just something that happened. I had no other means or ways to get my recap done, but I am here. It's coming. It's now, okay? The race is not for the swift. But anyways, before we get into this recap, please take a moment to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel for more recaps like this one. So let's get into it, right? The episode picks up from Sol and Gabriel being dumped from the island. Gabriel gives us his speech. He said he did his best, he came to explore, and he had a really good connection, but he also respects the girls' decision. He is just happy to have represented his country. And then we see Trinity saying that their decision wasn't anything personal. They just kind of felt like Caleb had not had a chance to make a connection. And Gabriel has had two connections and he didn't really seem content, right? Melanie also tries to explain further. But Zach saying, oh, that doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. Gabriel does say that he was still pretty open to exploring, and I guess I don't really understand the girls' point of view, but at this point it's whatever, okay? At least we're not going to be seeing him screwing on TV anymore, okay? Now Ariana then asked Jen how she's feeling, and she said she's sad not only for Gabe but also for Sol because they came in together. But we see Corbin saying to Zach, oh, she don't give a shit. I don't know what was up with those guys at all, okay? Zach says we saved her because of her connection with Gabriel, right? Jen said that her feelings have been growing for Gabriel and it's going to be hard for her to move on quickly. Do I believe Jen? Absolutely not. We know he wasn't her type, but we also know she probably just liked being physical with him. So Gabe and Sol are both individually packing their stuff to leave the villa. We see the guys in the room with Gabriel and Bryce is talking about how he's so pissed. Maybe they should have sent him home instead of Gabriel. How about that? Okay. Now Jen and Gabe talk. He said he doesn't understand the girls' reasoning. Then we see Casey ask Sol to talk. Okay. He said the decision wasn't easy for him. He feels bad because remember he was the only one trying to save Sol. She says she thought she was playing checkers, but they were playing chess and that's why she's going home. Casey then said in his confessional that he saw how much Sol was trying and he should have been more open, and that is one of his regrets. Now, again, I don't really feel like Casey was that interested in Sol. I feel like that last conversation he had with Sol and Bryce made him feel bad because of what she was experiencing, and maybe if he had just given himself to get to know Sol, that would not have made her experience that bad. I feel like that this is where he's coming from and not necessarily wanting to explore a connection with Sol. Okay, so the guys are saying that if they use the same logic that the girls use, Kenzie should have been sent home because she's been with a lot of the guys. But anyways, they make the exit out of the villa and the islanders are all standing together. Jen tells the girls that they should all chip in to make her breakfast the next day. And Zach's going to open his mouth and say, maybe you all won't be getting breakfast tomorrow, to be honest. Zach, shut up, okay? And it was Trinity who heard him say it. And she's like, oh, if you want to talk shit, let's go because I'm not going to be holding back. Okay, if you have a problem, speak up. So then Kayda, Trinity, Anniyah, and Melanie go to the side to talk, and Trinity is saying They better not piss her off because Bryce and Zach are just talking shit. Meanwhile, as the guys are walking away, Insincere is saying, oh, they're just mad because we called them out on their bullshit. Yes, Sincere, the same way you got mad when Sol called you out on your bullshit. Remember that? Yeah, okay. So Kayda tells the girls that Bryce said they won't be getting breakfast tomorrow. And Trinity said, well, he should go be with Gabriel if they're that mad, okay? And I said, period, okay? So the guys are sitting together and they're saying that they made the decision based on today while the girls made a decision based on the future. So he's like, the point of this is to be in a couple. This is what Bryce was saying, I think. And then Zach chimes in and says, oh, we don't know if someone else is going to come in and Kenzie is going to want that person. He thinks that the girls are saying that Gabriel is a F-boy. And so Bryce is like, oh, just because you're promiscuous doesn't mean he cannot find a connection. That was such a weird statement to make. But then again, it's Bryce and Zach. So are we surprised by anything that they say? No. So let me see Caleb and Jen talk. She's saying she doesn't know how she feels because she lost her friend and her connection. Caleb said he thought he would have been the one going home, and it sucks because of him a couple got broken up. He then asked her if there's any truth to the girls' reasoning. Jen said, well, she and Gabe were having a lot of fun, but she was also starting to like him. She also said that guys have always just lusted over her, telling her how hot she is. And then in her confessional, she said that she doesn't have time to be mad at the girls. She thinks that they're just hoping she finds someone who is more her type. So she's not really feeling any type of way because we already know that Gabriel was not her type. Now, Kenzie and Corbin talk. She's telling Corbin that the girls felt like Gabe was very lustful and would switch up for every bombshell that came into the villa. He then asks Kenzie not to get upset and reveals to her that this is how the guys saw her too, and they were going to vote her out. Now, Kenzie was so offended. She said, lustful? I'm not lustful. Girl, you are lustful. This whole connection that you have with Corbin is based on lust. So what are you talking about? Now she's mad as hell and she's like, I didn't pick to be in this couple with Caleb, and furthermore you were in another couple, so I tried to explore that connection, right? He's like, girl, this is not about you. And that's what Kenzie fails to realize, because she makes every situation about herself and she cannot help it. But really and truly, the girl is just mad that she was in the bottom three and she cannot understand why, okay? Like I said, she thinks she's that girl and she's not, and she just had a rude awakening, okay? Girl, it's for the same reasons he just explained. You're lustful, okay? And this is what we've all been saying. That's why you were in the bottom three. Anyways, he said that he's starting to catch feelings for her, and she's like, oh, are you asking? Y'all should have really sent Kenzie's behind home, seriously. So the girls decide to go over to the guys to talk, right? Now, when the guys see the girls walking towards them, they're laughing because they're trying to calm themselves down. Y'all, they got so pissed off. In fact, it was Bryce and Zach. And I'm like, can the two stooges shut the hell up, please? Okay? So Bryce starts explaining that they chose simply based on who was growing a connection, trying to say that Gabriel and Jen picked each other in the later activity. Okay, so Anniyah is telling them that for them, Caleb could be an easy pick, but they didn't feel like they feel like he got the short end of the stick. Yes, he was coupled up with Kenzie, but they didn't realize that her connection with Corbin was stronger. So Zach's corny behind is gonna say, oh, so are y'all gonna pull Caleb for a chat tomorrow? So the girls are like, yes, yes, we will talk to him. We will talk to him. Okay, we will put him for a chat. What are you talking about? Okay, so he's like, oh, I'm not mad, but I'm just using your logic. So then Casey is saying in his confessional that they're all lustful, right? And the guys are just so pissed off. But my thing is, if y'all have a couple, why also pressed? Okay, it doesn't make sense to me. Now, as much as the guys say that they were thinking more based on couples, they're lying. They know that they let Sincere lead that vote to send Sol home because he didn't want anything coming out about him. Okay. Now, anyways, the islanders head to bed. We get to the next morning. The girls are getting ready. The guys are making breakfast. But did y'all peep how Bryce showed Zach his pin? What is happening between these two? Guys, is this normal? Is this what y'all be doing in the United States of America? I need to know. Please let me know. Kenzie's on the dock having breakfast. Jen joins her. Do you all realize that she doesn't really mess with the other girls like that? Okay. Anyways, she's telling Jen how Corbin said he had feelings for her, but she was so shocked to be in the last three, in the bottom three. And that makes her wonder if America is seeing something that she's not seeing. She's also saying that the guys thought she was lustful, but she's not. So Jen tells her, girl, America is the one that coupled you up with Caleb. You explored him, you didn't like him. Now that's all over and done with. And I agree, that is true. But we also did see her telling Caleb how much she was into him. And that is what we saw. In fact, I didn't vote, but America saw and decided to vote her in the bottom three, okay? Now, Caleb talks to Sincere. Caleb's telling him that he put all his eggs in one basket, referring to Kenzie, and that really didn't work out for him. Sincere tells him, but all of the other islanders have done the same too, okay? Now you have a second chance, and sometimes that's all you need. Now, I don't like the guy, but I agree with him, okay? Caleb said he needs to find his girl, and maybe that means he needs to be selfish and put himself first. And I said, period, Caleb, okay? Sincere encourages him to go explore and don't leave any stones unturned, because you never know what one chat can lead to. Now let's talk about Bryce and Zach, okay? Bryce said that he was annoyed by Casey, saying that the only couples that was guaranteed were his and Zach's, okay? So Zach then says he feels like Kenzie and Corbin are a stronger couple than Casey and Anniyah, and I said BS, complete BS, okay? These are some hating attitudes, okay? Then Bryce is going to say that him and Zach's couple are the strongest. Again, pure mediocrity, because neither of you like your couple and prefer to be with each other. So be so for real, Bryce, okay? And y'all, what was happening between these two? Because did we just witness Zach being so fascinated by that snake Bryce has, okay? That's what he said. Bryce has a snake, okay? Bryce wants to know how he feels about seeing his snake. And he's like, oh, it's long. And he almost got a boner from it. I mean, if y'all are that into each other, good for y'all. But can y'all stop playing these games? Okay, happy Pride. And don't think, Zach, we didn't see you trying to cover up your boner too, okay? Y'all are doing the absolute most. Anyways, Caleb then gets a text. There is a challenge called Fairy Tale Ending, and it's sponsored by Maybelline. So the guys are dressed up like princes, sorry, and the girls are dressed like princesses. So here's how the challenge is about to go down. Okay, the challenge was very complicated, okay? So a prince will go through a door. He's then going to pop some balloons to find a question. Once he finds a question, he's going to answer it by picking another prince based off that question. And then he's going to pop another balloon over that prince's head. Then that poison prince, which means the one whose head got the balloon popped on, will pick a princess who the first prince, okay, the first prince is not coupled up with, and the girl will decide their fate by either turning him into a frog or kissing him, okay? Then he will kiss all of the girls' feet before putting the glass slipper on his princess's feet, and then end with a kiss. Hella complicated challenge. I don't understand why. That was just too much. First up was Sincere, and his question was, which prince is living in a fantasy rather than a reality? He chose Zach, Zach then chose Anniyah, and she chose both options to turn him to a frog and then kiss him. Okay, now Sincere was then kissed by Anniyah. He then makes his rounds with the feet and he kisses Melanie. Next up is Corbin. His question was, which prince has the fairest maiden of them all? He chose Zach again. Zach then chose Melanie and she chose to kiss Corbin. I mean, are we surprised? No. Corbin then makes his rounds and then kisses Kenzie. And of course, she has to do extra because she was in her feelings about Mel kissing Corbin. And we all know she's going to split, okay? Next up is Bryce. Bryce is Wakas. That's what I had in my notes. I cannot stand him, y'all. I cannot stand him. Oh my goodness. Okay, so his question was, which prince is playing the role of a hero but is actually a villain? And he chose KC. He said that Casey's intentions are confusing. Yeah, he's mad salty. Anyways, Casey chose Jen and she chooses to kiss Bryce. Bryce then makes his way to the girls and he was so cringe. Anyways, he ends up kissing Trinity. Now it's Caleb's turn. His question was, which prince is under a love spell rather than real feelings? He chose Bryce, but I really thought he would have picked Corbin, okay? Now, I would have picked Corbin for that question. Bryce chose Kenzie. He said that she has unfinished business with Caleb, and I'm just like, oh, he messy. He's messy as hell. So she chose to kiss Caleb, and now Caleb kisses the feet of all of the girls, and he then had to choose his princess, and he chose Kayda. And I'm here for it because Zach was mad as hell, okay? He didn't like that. Up next was Casey. His question was, which prince thinks he's royalty, but he's really just a side character? Y'all, I said, oh, they're so messy with the questions. Casey chose Corbin, but I would have picked one of the messy twins, Zach or Bryce, okay? Anyways, Corbin picks Kayda, and again, Zach is not happy. She chose to kiss Casey. Casey then makes his way to the girls and then puts the shoe on Anniyah's feet, and he definitely put it down on Anniyah, okay? Lastly, it's Zach's turn. His question was, which prince would steal someone else's happily ever after? He chose his boyfriend Bryce, and that was quite accurate. Traitor indeed. Now Bryce chooses Trinity, and she chooses both options, to turn him into a frog and to kiss. Then he makes his rounds to each of the girls and kisses Kayda. So the game is over and the islanders head back to the villa. They separate. The boys are on one side, the girls are on the other side. They're both talking about the challenge. So we get to Kayda, who says that she was shocked Caleb picked her, but she did enjoy the kiss. Now here comes Clown Z talking about, oh, so you're going to pull him for a chat now? Messy, okay? Kayda said, well, he can pull me for a chat, okay? Meanwhile, Zach's telling Caleb how he wasn't expecting him to have picked Kayda. Then Sincere is messy behind is going to ask him between Clownsy and Kayda who kissed better. Caleb said Kayda, and I said okay. But Zach was so annoyed that Kayda was into the kiss, okay? Now Bryce explains that he picked Casey, and he said it was because Casey said this wasn't his vote, and he felt like Casey had an opportunity to stop that vote if he wanted to. Did he really? I don't think so. Now Casey knows that Anniyah is not going to be happy with that at all, and I am so done with the Casey and Anniyah beef. Can we just stop? We then see Anniyah saying, let's talk about that question about Casey. Now Trinity says, oh, I think it's because you all have had that issue. And so Anniyah said, well, he said intentions. She said she's sick of having conversations, and then these challenges come and it's these kind of responses about Casey. So the girls tell her not to overthink it, but still get the answer, that she needs from Casey. So we get to later on in the evening, and as they're getting ready, the girls are asking Anniyah if she's going to bring up what happened in the challenge with Casey. She said she's over it, and so Melanie tells her, well, girl, he's already proven everything to you in the letter, So I don't see why you should bring it up. But anyways, everyone gets dressed and they're looking cute and they head downstairs to their guys. So we see the first chat of the night between Bryce and Trinity. He's bringing up the reason why he picked KC. So we do know that he's feeling some type of way about Casey, feeling like him and Anniyah, Bryce and Kayda are the strongest couples. So one, Bryce was being petty by picking Casey, and he's telling Trinity that Casey said they split up for a bit, and Bryce feels like they don't have the kind of issues that Casey and Anniyah have. And honestly, that's because you're simply just a placeholder for Trinity. Y'all don't have a real connection. As much as y'all are trying to convince us that y'all are really into each other, y'all are just lying, okay? We see you, Bryce, okay? We can tell that you're not authentic at all, okay? He then tells Trinity that Casey was acting like he wanted a part of the decision making, that he wasn't, sorry, a part of the decision making when it came to sending Sol home, right? Now, as to why they're sitting there talking about Casey is beyond me. Because let's be honest, the entire relationship is based off him gossiping about other couples. We saw him do the same thing with Melanie and Insincere, okay? He can't focus on what's in front of him because he's too busy watching everyone's business. Furthermore, he's not really into Trinity. We know he's into Zach, okay? Bryce then tells Trinity how Casey feels like he didn't really get to explore Sol because that one time Sol ended Anniyah, ended the conversation when Sol and Casey were talking. Now, Miss Trinity girl, I like you and I don't want to drag you, but you saying that Casey is ignorant is dumb as hell, okay? Because what did Casey do beside not letting Anniyah know that maybe he did really want to explore Sol? Now, I also have another logic behind that. I said it earlier that I think that Casey felt a way hearing Sol talk about her experience when she had that conversation with Bryce and Casey, right? And he probably felt like he should have had more conversations with her so she wouldn't have felt that way. I feel like this is where Casey was coming from, and not necessarily saying that he liked Sol enough to want to explore a connection with her. Okay, now Caleb talks to Insincere. He talks about the challenge and how he felt a connection with Kayda, but only explored Kenzie because she was the only girl willing to explore. However, Kayda was the first girl that caught his eye when he first came into the villa. Sincere encourages him to go explore that connection because Kayda and Zach are not closed off, and furthermore, he's single and he's here to find his person and he should do that. Meanwhile, Zach is annoyed by some statements that Kayda made during the challenge about Caleb, and Kayda's like, what? Seriously? That's what you're mad about? Why are you so pressed? Zach, seriously, why are you so pressed? I thought you just said earlier that y'all were the strongest couple. So why are you so pressed? Now you could tell that Kayda is pissed because he just keeps nitpicking everything she does in those challenges. Then we see Caleb go up to Kayda and ask for a chat, and Zach was crumbling, okay? He was crumbling like a cookie. Anyways, they head to say less and they get to talking about the challenge. She said that she was surprised that Caleb kissed her, and he lets her know that she was the first one to have caught his eye when he first came into the villa. He does also tell her that he enjoyed the kiss and felt like there was something there. She said she enjoyed the kiss too, okay? So get to talking about pets. She also said that she and Zach are still pretty open. And then we hear Kayda, say in her confessional that Zach is pretty jealous. Meanwhile, he's over there falling apart just at the thought of Kayda talking to Caleb, and he's wondering if they're kissing. But Zach, you were also the one who told Caleb to pull Kayda. But you probably thought he wasn't going to, and now you're there crying like a little girl, worried about if they're kissing. Please. Now, Trinity decided to pull Anniyah for a chat, and she's telling Anniyah that what Bryce said to her about him not seeing she and Bryce as a couple or whatever, okay? Now, we see Anniyah say, well, girl, personally, I didn't think you were that into Bryce. So Trinity is like, yeah, I really like him. She said that she could see herself outside of the villa with Bryce, and I said, girl, why are you lying? Stop. Anniyah didn't even believe it, okay? Meanwhile, Casey is talking to Caleb and saying that he and Anniyah are in a good spot, but he also feels like he hasn't really explored. And if a bombshell were to come into the villa, he would definitely do things differently. And that is his right. Honestly, in that entire thing, I had to side eye Trinity in this moment because to me, her telling Anniyah that Casey wanted Sol to stay, I don't feel like it came from a place of care. I feel like she was just being messy, just as Bryce has been messy this entire time, because we do know that she was annoyed by that statement Casey made about her connection with Bryce. And so she knows that telling Anniyah this piece of information is going to cause issues. That is why she told her. Now, I'm about fed up with Casey and Anniyah going at it, and I just hope that she lets it go. I feel like she should just watch him, don't bring it up, let it be. But that's a wrap on episode 15, and I need to hear from you all. Was Zach overreacting to Caleb and Kayda's conversation, or was his jealousy justified? Do you think Caleb and Kayda actually have potential, or was it just challenge chemistry? And can somebody please again explain Bryce and Trinity to me because I'm still confused? Drop all your thoughts in the comments because you already know I'm going to be down there and reading every single one. If you enjoyed this recap, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Bye.